Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 61 of Reaching for the Moon, which is for Litha or Midsummer.
Hello and welcome to Reaching for the Moon, presented by Everglades Moon Local Council, Florida chapter of Covenant of the Goddess. COG supports individual works by its covens, members, and local councils. It's a vibrant network of a myriad of Wiccan and witchy resources, religious support, friendships, service opportunities, and more. To find out more, visit our website, emlc.net, our Facebook page, facebook.com/EvergladesMoon, or Twitter, @EMLCTweets.
Hey, this is Lady Bridget, and I bet you're all wondering what happened to episode 60? Cause wasn't the last episode 59, which was Beltane? But then if you were listening carefully, you'll realize that episode 59 was really for Ostara. And I got my notes confused. And so I never introduced episode 60 for Beltane as 60. We ended up having two episode 59s. Hey, you know, I guess that's what happened when you start to go a little stir crazy. But anyways, so this actually is episode 61. And for those of you who emailed me that I goofed, thank you for letting me know, and you know who you are. So, and for the rest of you, I guess you just weren't paying attention, and that's perfectly okay, because apparently I wasn't paying attention either. So we're now in episode 61, and this is for Litha Midsummer. Regardless of what number it is, it's going to be fun. We're going to rejoin Aequitas' astrology class with part 2. This is his week 1 astrology class, and last episode, whatever number it was, we gave you part 1, in which he introduced the signs and some of their aspects. And this week and this episode, we're going to bring you part 2, in which he introduces elements of the signs and some other things. And he also talks about, tarot with astrology, and it's pretty fascinating. And I think if you know a little bit about astrology, you'll be able to pick right up. And if you don't, then I would suggest, if you haven't listened to the previous Beltane episode where we went through part 1, you might want to re-listen to that again before you jump into this one. But this one is part 2, and he's going to conclude his week 1 workshop. And if you want to get in touch with Joseph or take any of his fantastic classes, you can find him on Instagram at Stars by Joseph. You can find him on Facebook at Stars by Joseph. And I tell you what, it would be well worth it for you to study this, because astrology is a large part of Wiccan magic and a lot of magical practices. And it's really eye-opening, as well as helping you learn more about yourself and what you're doing in this lifetime. We're going to have 2 songs. The first will be Hail the Sun, which is by Mama Gina. And you can learn more about Mama Gina and purchase her music on mamaginamusic.com. The second song, we're going to end with Crow Women, and it celebrates summer, and it's from their new album, Seasons. And you can learn more about the Crow Women, and you can purchase their music on cdbaby.com. And in between those 2 songs, Shaylee has generously shared with us the casting and releasing words that she used for her online Zoom circle. And I know that a lot of us are doing stuff online. I know I sure am. We're all doing more online than we ever were before. And Shaylee, thank you so much for sharing those words with us, and maybe they'll be helpful to people. So enjoy, and blessed be.
All right, so ready for the next deep dive. Okay, so we did the 1 and the 2. Now it's the 3. Oh, so let me back up. So now we're going to talk about the qualities. So if you're writing notes, this is a next big header. So the 1 was all the unknowable. That one's short. 2 is gender. Okay, now 3, next big header, is the qualities. And it's cardinal, fixed, and mutable. And we're going to go through these one by one, and you'll understand it. Let's start with the cardinals. And again, these are just old medieval words. Mutable makes a lot of sense, but cardinal and fixed makes a lot of sense too. You'll see in a moment. But we're not talking about cardinal the bird. We're talking about cardinal like supreme. Okay. All right. So here is the 365-day wheel of the year. So the astrological new year just happened a couple days ago. It's spring. It's the sign of Aries. Astrologers cast all of our predictive charts for when the sun enters 0 degrees of Aries. Think about it. It does not make sense to begin the new year on December 21st. And we don't even operate as a new day at 12:01 a.m. At 12:01 a.m., we do not get up and go to work. So in the year cycle, in the daily cycle, when we say tomorrow is a new day has dawned. How do we psychologically and biorhythmically relate to a new day? It's when the sun is rising and is coming up, not at midnight. We be sleeping. In astrology and in the ancient days before the Romans got big on this like Janus god and January and New Year stuff, their New Year also began in spring. Why? Because in that part of the world, the winter was thawing, and Rome could march their armies. They could move their armies much easier when it started to get warm and there wasn't snow to contend with to go up and have their battles in the northern territories. Okay, so the new year begins in March. And also why it's a cardinal sign is because it's the change of the season. Now in Miami, because we're closer to the equator, we don't feel the dramatic changes. How many of you though grew up in like New York or I grew up in Western New York State, and let me tell you, you feel after you've been through a long, cold, dark, dim winter, when spring is fine, you are so happy. You are like out there like the sign of Aries. Oh my God. I remember standing at the bus stop and it would be 50 degrees and my mom would put me in shorts because it was warm. Okay. So it's like, after you've been through the winter, spring is like, yeah, let's go out there and have some fun. So spring is the new year, beginning of the new year. And if you think about it, in springtime in the northern hemisphere, and by the way, most of the Earth's land mass exists in the northern hemisphere, so it is the dominant psychology. Yep, we got Australia and Southern Africa down there, but most of the land mass is above the equator, and South America too, but most of it is up there. So spring, what's happening in spring is, things are starting to bud. And if you even like when a seed has germinated and it starts to just come out like that, that is such an Aries thing. Like, here I am, world, I'm coming out, right? And so that's Aries. Okay. So then the next big change of the season is summertime, the sign of Cancer. So Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, cardinal signs, because they're the change of the season. So Cancer, despite it, and we'll get to this later, being a water sign and being more like having maternal characteristics, something that all of the cardinal signs have in common is they like to see things in action. They like to see things changing. If there's a lot of talk but not a lot of action, the cardinal signs will get restless. So then in summer, we start to have things in full bloom. The sun is out. We're starting to go on picnics. We're starting to talk about summer vacation. You see the change. Kids are getting off from school. Maybe not this year. Okay, so that's the change of the season. So then the next big change of the season is fall. Now a change happened. The sun is not out so much. The sun is going back down. It's getting cooler. We know winter's coming. Winter is coming. So Libra, it's things are starting to cool off. We're no longer in summer. Things are starting to fall. And now we're starting to enter the dark half of the year, the fall. So then the next clearly big change of the season is winter is here, the solstice. And I'll be drilling this into you. When you're looking at an astrology chart, the east, this is east over here. This is north down here, west to this side, and south to the top. Now, why is that? If you go outside and you want to look at the stars, please look south. So after tonight or any night, just go out, and when you go outside, look to the north and then look to the south. And you're going to be able to see much more stars and more of the sky looking towards the south, because we are in the northern hemisphere, okay? So I just wanted to orient you that the astrology is also a map, and it relates to the directions also. Those were the cardinal signs. Okay, are we ready for fixed and mutable? And then we'll come up for air. So now the fixed signs, they're all in the middle of the season because it's the strength and power of the season. Aries is the beginning of spring, but Taurus season, that's the strength and the power of spring. This is when things, birds and bees, fertility rites in ancient days were practiced during this time, because it's the strength and power. Then the strength and power of the next season is in the middle of the summer. So now, we live in Miami, so like clearly by June it's hot, but July, August, it's even hotter. Okay, when we're in Leo season, that sun is just like UV 25. Okay, it's just radiating. So the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, they have a unique power because they hold the fixedness. They're the like stable, we have change and then we have stability. We have change and then stability. Sudden change and then stability. So the next big stable fixed sign is Scorpio. And if you think about it, Scorpio season, that's really when all of up north, the leaves are really changing color. It's gorgeous. And such like the sign of Scorpio, when the leaves fall on the ground, you can see the inside, you can see the veins. Scorpio penetrates. Scorpio wants to know how things tick on the inside. And then the power and the strength of winter, for those of us up north, Capricorn season is okay, because we celebrate the holidays and you have some celebrations in there. But there's literally something called SAD, S-A-D. It's called seasonal affective disorder, because not seeing the sun for so long, it actually impacts us. And if you think about it, so Joseph, what does the fixed sign have to do with Aquarius and mental? Because Aquarius is, as Carlos can tell us, they're so smart and so ingenious, and they just get these like radical ideas. So how did that work, and how does it relate to the season? So, because people had to go inside for the winter, and then they sat inside their houses, and all they had time to do was think. They got their meat stored up. The people are inside. That's when they would actually pursue intellectual activity, because they couldn't be working the fields. The only time you ran outside really quick was go to the outhouse, and then you're back inside. You could work on intellectual pursuits. You could do home crafting. Your mind had time you're busy as a farmer, and now you're sitting inside like we are now. Yeah, question, Pandy?
Yeah, you were talking about how for the cardinal signs, it starts at that's 0 degrees of like Aries or 0 degrees Cancer. Is that the same with the fixed signs, that they start at when the sun is at 0 degrees in those other signs as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, a sign
I just want to clarify.
0, let's say here, the sign would start at 0 Aquarius, 0 degrees, 0 minutes and 0 seconds, boom, we have an Aquarius child, not a late Capricorn one. That's why we obsess over the time of birth when you get an astrology reading, because that 10 minutes could make a huge difference about how we read that person and who they really are, right? So yeah, and then Aquarius will go all the way up to 29 degrees, 59 minutes and 59 seconds, still Aquarius. Then as soon as we hit 0, everything zeroes out. Now we've got a Pisces. Okay. So especially if you're born on a cuspal or your time of birth gives you a house cusp, it's important that we really nail down. So we'll get into that later about how to worry about time of birth stuff. Okay. So yeah, the whole sign of Aquarius, they're always fixed. No matter what degree, planet, whatever, you're dealing, somebody's got a lot of planets. And now here's another thing to think about it. You don't even have to be an advanced astrologer. If you look at a chart and you see, oh, a lot of their planets are all in cardinal signs, close the piece of paper down and just start talking about cardinal. So you want to get things done. You want to be in action. You're not interested in talk. You want to see things happening. Cardinal signs are great at starting projects, but they're the beginning of the season. Do they finish any of their projects? No. You have other planets, Pandy, that help you out there, right? So everything I'm talking about is pure sign. Now here's where the only time you'd read this only happened once in my whole 15 years of being an astrologer. Somebody walked in and I read a chart. They were Virgo rising. They had their sun and moon and like 3 other planets in Virgo in the first house. Just a few other planets and other signs. I folded up the piece of paper and all I did was talk to them about Virgo stuff because their whole chart was in Virgo. So then I could just open up. In fact, during the reading, they said, oh, so it's I go, I'm not an archetype, I'm a stereotype. And I said, yeah. So this is why astrological interpretation is so difficult, because we have to teach you the pure sign. Once in my whole 15 years did somebody walk in, and again, not all of their planets were just in Virgo. In fact, they were having a 7th house issue, right? And so if they're Virgo rising, they were having Pisces stuff in their relationship. So I have to teach you the pure signs, and nobody's that way. We're all mixed up and jumbled, and that's why you have to practice the interpretation, because they're like, okay, you've got 2 planets in Virgo, but 3 in Libra and 2 in Scorpio. So, and I'm going to teach you how to pull that apart and not get freaked out and actually interpret all those little pieces for that person. Okay? We're all 12 signs and 10 planets uniquely mixed. And there we are. Okay, so fixed signs. Now, they're more interested in the slow and steady. They're in the middle of the season. They don't want radical change. They don't want to necessarily change too quickly. They're the slow and steady type. All right, so mutables. The mutables are the transition to the season in between each. Now, if you think about all the mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces, they are translators. They go from one group to another. They have to, because they're going, how do you go from, okay, we're wrapping up spring and now I got to bring in summer. I'm wrapping up summer and how do we get to the fall? All of the mutable signs are connected in that they have this kind of, I'm just going to use the word duality about them, this back and forth. Okay. And if you think about it, all of the mutable signs, not for everybody's chart, but generally speaking, they are very gifted with language. It's no surprise mutables will be able to pick up a language or speak 2 languages, because that's literally translation from one paradigm to another. Okay. And also the archetype of Gemini in particular as a sign is, it's very much depicted by the angel on one shoulder. You've seen these in the old Tom and Jerry cartoons. You have the angel on one shoulder and you have the devil on the other, and they're listening to both. And who are they going to listen to? So Gemini can see both sides to every story. And they can give you a lot of advice, but can they make a decision about themselves? See, all of the transitional signs are dealing with this back and forth duality because they're caught in the middle and they're trying to resolve it. Okay, very powerful esoteric here. So Virgo is the second mutable sign. They're going from summer to fall, right? And this is why Virgos are masterful at all the details. They're trying to accomplish that transition through, well, let me get all my ducks in a row. It's also the first of the harvest season. And I have some like grain here depicted. And if you look at the constellation of Virgo, it's actually an angel, and she's holding wheat. Okay, she's holding like a bushel, like a thingy of wheat, and because she's holding the seeds of promise. Okay, esoteric stuff. Virgo's very good with language. And by the way, and I'm going to cover this more in the sides, Gemini, they're talking and verbal communication. Virgo, they're the writers. They're the prolific. I have this one Virgo astrologer friend. She also has Virgo rising, tons of planets in Virgo. And one email from her will be like a novel. And I'm like, Catherine, just tell me, you want to go to lunch 5 p.m. next Tuesday? But no, I have to have all the details in her whole life story, and then what happened to her car, and then this is going on with her business, and then, oh yeah, will you have lunch with me? And it's like, there's the Virgo for you. I got all the details. So they are masterful though at writing. Like Tolstoy, Russian novelist, got like 3 planets in Virgo, sun, moon there, I think. So like they're prolific writers. They don't just write a little bit. So that's how they're about the transitional. Okay, Sagittarius, the other mutable sign. They're transitioning from fall to winter. Okay, and then the final one is Pisces. They are transitioning from they're, and that's why they're, you know, they have a lot of these, like, Pisces gets a bad rap because they're at the end, so they're the tail end of all this cycle before the new rebirth. And the constellation, actually, it's like 2 fish going almost at 90-degree angles, and 1 fish is actually swimming back towards Aquarius.
Pisces is winter to spring?
Yeah. Pisces is right before Aries.
Hey, Joseph,
Yes.
what would you say the skill for you said in communicating Pisces, do you think it would be emotions?
Yes, because we're going to get to elements next. They are, bar none, have like, we associate the element water with emotions. And so Pisces is often in the imaginative, but also the sensitive realm.
Oh boy.
Okay. Right?
No, I have a lot of really good Pisces friends, but when I've tried to date a Pisces, they've driven me nuts because a lot of the ones that I've been romantically linked with, they've done this weird thing where they're like, 3 weeks have passed and they're like, remember when you did this? Ticka, 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 ticka. Remember when you did that? Ticka, 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 ticka. Remember? And they have this woodpeckering thing that they do emotionally. It can drive you bats.
Well,
but that being said, a lot of my best friends are Pisces.
so not necessarily the woodpecker thing, but the memory thing. Okay. Some Pisces, and also if there's Pisces can have a photographic memory. Also, a strong Neptune can also do that as well in terms of planet placement. And like Cancer will remember the emotion of it, because we know Cancers are, you know. So we're about to go into water signs, so that'll add that other final layer. But yes, you got it, Pat. But I want you to have, though, the programming of these cardinal fixed mutable. So let's cycle it through one more time. So Aries, cardinal, because spring is beginning. Taurus, much more fixed energy, much more stubborn energy. Gemini, much more transitional energy. Cancer, even though they have the water sensitivity, Cancer likes to see things going. They like action because it's a cardinal sign. Leo, much more fixed, regulated type energy, more like the sun, just steady, right? The sun just hangs there in the sky. Virgo, transitional. They're translating. Libra, cardinal again. Libras like to see things happening. Busy bodies. Scorpio, much more fixed energy. Sagittarius, more restless. They're going one way, they're going another. Do I go here? Do I go there? Screw it, let me just go on vacation. Sagittarius. So then cardinal again, Capricorn cardinal. Not happy unless a lot of productivity and a lot of things happening and action. Aquarius, much more steady energy. And Pisces, much more transitional, fluid energy, back and forth, more restless. more one to the other, and then boom, back to spring. Okay? Cardinal, fixed, mutable, cardinal, fixed, mutable, cardinal, fixed, mutable, cardinal, fixed, mutable. So now some important things to notice. You can control cardinal and fixed signs through external means. Cardinal, you can, through force or fear, get them to do something. Cardinal signs are primarily motivated by force and fear. If you threaten a Capricorn, you're going to get a demotion unless you do this. Like, let's say they're at a big company. Oh, Capricorn, you got their attention. And they will kowtow. Now, mutable signs, because they're internal and attitudinally motivated, you cannot threaten mutable signs when they are, then when they've laid down their life for a belief or a cause that they internally are generating as pure in what they want to do. At that same company, go, I'm going to demote you, and the mutable sign will go, do it. Okay? You cannot externally motivate mutable signs. They have to really want to do it. Now, the fixed signs, their motivation is incentive and reward. You know, you tell a Taurus, look, if you invest $10 every month, then in this stock return package, you'll get $20 every month next year. Oh, you got Taurus's attention. Okay? All the fixed signs, they're interested in the slow and steady. You can dangle like with, so cardinal is the stick and fixed is the carrot. Okay? Mutables, they listen to their own inner authority. Now, you have to remember, we all have all 12 signs in our chart, but what you want to do, and I, on the break, I was talking about this, we can throw up a few sample people's charts, and you're like, let's say you're brand new astrologers, you just heard this conversation tonight, you can start interpreting charts just based on what we covered tonight. With gender, the qualities and the elements. Vast amounts of information will now start to make sense to you about your own chart, because you can see, where do you have most of your planets? Are they in cardinal, fixed, or are they mutable? Do you have a healthy balance where you have kind of an even distribution amongst all three? That's good, because then in different situations, you can, when you need to stand your ground or when you need to like back off, then you'll be able to like work with it that way. But if all of your stuff is in fixed, or most or all of your stuff is in cardinal or mutable, now you've got an imbalance in your chart. And now you know the things you need to work on just at this basic, like the basic wiring of your chart, how you're put together. All right. Okay, so let's finish up elements. Now these are, I find, like a lot easier to understand. So now the ancients kind of had the same idea we did. They had a belief that all physical matter had a like pure elemental internal something to it that made up. They were on to something, that things are made of smaller things. And what they came up with in their system was fire, earth, air, and water. Okay? So now we're doing the fours. So if you're taking notes, this is your next big header, the fours, which are the elements: fire, earth, air, water. Now the ancients got it right, and that they correctly identified the four states of matter that we still use today, right? Plasma, solid, liquid, gas. And much like the states of matter, they totally relate to fire, earth, air, and water and the personality of the signs. Okay? So we're going to go through these one by one. You got your fire signs, earth signs, air signs, and water signs. And then you see it all goes back to the 12, because we've got cardinal, fixed, mutable, which is 3, and there's 4 of those, there's 12. We have 4 elements, 3 signs each, 4 times 3 is 12. And I know you're frantically copying, so we'll go back to the slide, and I'll email this to you so you don't have to rush. And it'll make more sense once we go through the archetypes. So let's talk about the fire signs, okay? So the fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sag. Now, I wanted to, let's all jump in, because I would like for you to call out the types of, there are many types of fire, okay? So call some things out that you've seen burning, and let's start to look at that, because it totally relates to the signs. So what kind of fires do we have?
Bonfire.
Bonfire. That's
Like a pyramid, yeah.
bonfire is more related to Sagittarius. Okay?
Okay.
Because they need to, because it's in the colder part of the year, they need friction to get things going. Sagittarius needs to rub brains. But all of the fire has this combustible quality to it. Fire signs are definite. Wait.
I'm sorry, I mean to interrupt. I was going to say electricity.
Electricity is like Aries, electric fire, or lightning. Electricity is a type of fire, if you will. Yes.
Would you say that a wildfire, like the fires that were going on in California, like that would be like an Aries thing?
Out of control. So
I would see that as a Leo.
It would fit for all of them. I think we could make that argument. I don't want to be like, oh, only bonfires are like this, but I just wanted to try to give you some sense of, so Aries is like electric fire or lightning, right? It's there, but then it's gone. Okay? Because Leo is more fixed. Leo, that kind of fire is more like the steady, like a bonfire that goes for days, or the sun, stars in the sky. That's Leo, because it's fixed. Remember, fixed energy.
You think of Sagittarius for like a blowtorch that's using a gas? Would that be Sag?
Yep, I would put it there. And its tools, you see, like, Leo's a lion, Aries is a ram, but Sagittarius is half man, half human, and they're holding a tool. So there's also sort of like, anytime it's just animal depicted versus a human form on the zodiac, they're saying something to us. So might it be that, and astrologers have argued this 5 ways to Tuesday, but just for something you to think about, because it helps you get the signs under your belt. Sagittarius is the half human, but it's also half animal. So that's the Sagittarius dilemma. Do I go to Gary's party and get drunk, or do I go to my philosophy class tonight? Those are like Sagittarian dilemmas, right? But they do have the half human and the tool using, right, as a part of them. So there is something like elevated, if you will, about Sag, but still also confronting their animal nature. Okay? So here's some other, there's their brush fire. There's, a solar fire, the sun, volcano.
Oh.
Volcano erupting. That's Aries when you really piss them off. Nuclear bomb.
Aries.
And then there's a candle.
Sag.
And then a light bulb, right? So these are all different, just to kind of give us the whole schema of fire, right? And so something about fire signs, it's very much like that element. They're consuming, they're passionate, they're motivating, they have vision. Okay, I know we think like vision is related to air because it's thought, but vision is actually like powerful leaders. They have a vision. They're like driven by something. They get up on stage and they're like creating this fire in people and they're warming people up. And so that's all fire stuff. Okay. Okay. Now Earth. So the Earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, very different kind of vibe than fire. Okay. So I'm going to throw up some pictures here because I want us to really appreciate the whole spectrum of Earth. So obviously we have a garden and trees and grass, okay? You've got food. All of our food is grown on the earth. And then you've got soil that goes very deep, and you've got clay, right? There's rocks, there's crystals. So when earth signs get stubborn and crystallize, right? They can get really stuck, right? Like, who wants to go climbing on those rocks over there in that picture? This is like, sometimes earth signs can be not a fun time, right? When they get really rigid and stubborn. but earth signs want to build. Perfect career for a Taurus is architecture, because they draw, they plan it out, it can be aesthetic, and then they can see the whole thing build, and it takes time and it's at their pace, and great for Taurus's architecture. But then earth can get dry, right? And there's also desert. So earth with no water, out of control fire, as somebody mentioned, like the brush fires in California, that just the vision and the passion became a frenzy and took over. So like fire without water to help it balance out, or some other kind of container, all earth and no water, nothing grows in that. Maybe a cactus for a little bit, and they're not so friendly. Right? Okay, so other things about earth signs that, you know, we want to talk about, or earth, the element in general, and how it relates to the signs, and I'll put them back up for you. One other thing, classic, all the earth signs are very expecting and demanding of others and themselves. And when I do astrology readings and I see a lot of earth in the chart, I have a lot of conversations about your unfulfilled expectations. And this is why you're so bitter. But you put those expectations there. Nobody told you it was all going to turn out this way. That was a conversation in your head. Earth signs really need to watch their expectations and demands. Okay? Classic earth problem. Fire, that's clear. Too much passion. Leo, too much me, right? Too much fire. Earth is too much expecting and demanding. Okay. Any questions about that? Any questions about earth?
Sarah just made a good point that the earth wants to receive.
Yes. All the earth signs, and we're going to see this in the chart, they're all feminine. Earth is a receptive, right? But if it's just earth and there's no water coming in, right? But if we've got earth and water, oh man, that's a fertile environment for things to grow. Okay, so now you've got, like on your own astrology charts, you can just count up. So cardinal, fixed, mutable. So that kind of tells you about your personality motivations. But now with the elements, you can just do a straight count. How many planets in fire, how much in earth, how much in air, and how much in water. And right there, you got a whole nother level of an interpretation. So the air signs, we've got Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So here's some pictures of the actual air. It's hard to show a picture of air because it's invisible. But we've got airplanes and the sky, and clouds, a little bit of water in the air, kites, ideas, thoughts. But air, when they can turn into a tornado or a hurricane, air with water. Tornado is air with earth. But you know, also what transmits through the air is communication, sound. There's things traveling through the air right now called Wi-Fi. That's all a part of the air realm. Technology, ideas, okay? All air stuff. Gemini, the talker. Libra, the relator. Libra is like, you know, the sign of a relationship, but really, and how do we do relationships? Well, we have to communicate. We have to know how to go back and forth with one another. Libra is me and you, and how do we make this back and forth work? Aquarius is the masses. Okay, Aquarius is like in that picture, a satellite dish, and it's got like 5,000 channels pumping through it. Because in the constellation, Aquarius is, it's called the water bearer, but that's a misnomer. He does have a jug, but he's pouring a stream of consciousness. Okay, Carlos already told you, he's the Aquarius. What was the first thing he said? Guys, I talk a lot, okay? And when Aquarius can really get going, it's like an like encyclopedic knowledge coming at you, and maybe change the subject 5 times also in that. Okay, all right. So water, okay, we've got Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So we have waterfalls, we've got streams and brooks, but water can also become like ice. And this is famous of water signs. When they want to cut you out, oh, they will cut you. Water can be slippery. And water is much more functional when it has healthy boundaries and has a structured container. Like nice cup of tea with a nice healthy structure around it. It's warm. Liquid is not spilling everywhere, burning everybody. But the water element can be deep. Can be deep.
I was going to say deep, Joseph. I'm also making a connection with the tarot right now. You know, the tarot cards and these four elements. It's identical. The water, the emotion.
Oh yeah. Yes. So again, half this call has tarot decks. So this relates to, you know, the clubs, the cups, and the wands, the cups, the swords, you know, from tarot, okay? And then the pentacles is usually the earth or the star, yeah. And, you know, different readers use different systems. Some people use wands as fire. Some people say, no, to make a sword, you need to put it in fire, you know, so, but anyways, they correspond. Okay, so there's a lot of wisdom and depth and overlap between tarot and astrology. They don't line up perfectly. They're meant to inform one another. Oh, another cool thing you can do, if you're into tarot enough, you can lay out your astrology chart with your tarot deck. Major insight. Yes, Pandy's mind just got blown.
Yeah.
No,
Mine's blown here too.
Yep.
Okay, so like,
Yeah, that's awesome.
here's the astrology chart. Okay, you know, it's the circle. And literally start with your ascendant. So put that card there. And then in your first house, your planets, and lay the cards out. And you're gonna, yeah.
You mean like the cards that would correspond to the placements you have, you mean?
Right. So
Like the chart?
yeah, and we can pull up an example chart and do
cool.
this.
I
Yeah,
was gonna
remember-
ask if you had like this is what for like first house or what, like how is I'm confused.
Okay.
Yeah, the order. Do you do it by
Start with the
the
ascendant.
first
Sorry,
house?
I know this is now
Okay.
off track. So
No, it's not. It came up for a reason, and I forgot about this and just talking about this. See, this is the synergy that we have together. Tonight, when we're going to pull up some charts, and I'll show you how to do this with your cards to get it started. And if you're still confused, you can email me, message me online. I love this stuff. I can talk about it for... So we've got fire, earth, air, water. Fire, earth, air, water. Fire, earth, air, water. It repeats, okay? Now, the polarities, this one's easy. So this is the sixes, but they're just the opposite. Okay, and if you notice here, Aries and Libra, fire is always opposite air, and they're both masculine. Earth is always opposite water, and they're both feminine signs. Again, both masculine signs, fire and air, earth and water, masculine, feminine. And they repeat, they repeat, they repeat. And the polarity is an important conversation, because one easy remedy, so if you become a counseling astrologer someday, and like, let's say people have got, you know, like way too many planets in like Scorpio, okay? And then they're coming to you, they're like, help me, what do I do with myself? Well, one easy thing is then go to the opposite sign. So too much scorpionic depth, too much in other people's business, too much intensity, go practical, stop and smell the flowers, enjoy life. Not everything is a mind game to everyone all the time, except for Scorpios. Take a break, you know, like be more Taurus, right? Marla's laughing. I gotcha. You can go back to the mind games later, but take a little break for a second, okay? And enjoy yourself, right? So each sign in a way has its own medicine. And again, this is, okay, if you've got 1 or 2 planets in a sign, meh, but if you've got like a stellium there, that means like a large grouping. So like another easy one to see is like Virgo. Got too many planets in Virgo. They're all details and anxiety and get more Pisces. Relax, have a drink, calm down. You know, like that's how.
Have a drink or 50.
Yeah. Seriously. So each sign has the medicine. So also another way you want to look at your chart to work on your own self-gnosis, your self-knowledge, is if you've got like a heavy bunch of grouping planets, take a look at the opposite sign, and that can help pull you out of that dark hole there. Okay.
Joseph, I have a question. Like, if you look at your chart And I know you were talking about this in terms of one particular sign that might be abundant, but if you have like particularly like an abundance of an element, like if most of your chart is like, let's say water or air, how do you balance that? Do you look at the polarities for that, or do you handle that in another way?
I'm glad you asked. That one's trickier because, and you got to ask the client sometimes, and I've talked to a lot of astrologers about this, and there seems to be a consensus. Let's say a chart has no water. It goes one of two ways. Either that person actually is pretty sensitive, so they don't like need any water and they're good, or they do need to majorly work on being sensitive and more emotional and more in touch with themselves and others like that. So
Cool.
with the elements, it's tricky. You can't remedy that one. But with the polarities, it works. The elements, that's trickier. And we got to go into, that's more in the interpretation conversations, but great question. Yeah, it's not that easy. Sorry.
No, it's cool.
And like, here's what I also love about astrology. No astrologer knows everything. And what's beautiful about this system is, and that's what I like about it, I am teaching you how you can figure this out for yourself. And it is my hope that you come to me one day and said, Joseph, okay, I did all your basics and I found something. Oh man, now I want to hear about it. I'd love to be proven wrong about one of these techniques, because then I'll learn something. You have all the tools. Don't take my word for any of this. This is what's great about, it's the most scientific of the spiritual disciplines. You can test it. Once I teach you this system, you are off and running on your own. You'll have your own insights about your own chart that no astrologer could ever tell you, because they're not you, right? And trust me, we have blind spots as human beings. You also need an astrologer friend now and then to point out, like, you don't want to look at this in your chart, but it's there. So like, you need to study your own chart, and then other people need to guide you. Just like you need to find your own way in life, and then sometimes you need friends to help you out. Same thing. Okay? All right, so masculine, Taurus, feminine, Gemini, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine. Now the next layer. Cardinal, Aries is a masculine, cardinal fire sign. Taurus, a yin, a feminine, fixed earth sign. Okay. Gemini, masculine, mutable air sign. Okay, now it's pop quiz time. Who'd like to take a stab at Cancer with those three? Gender, quality, and element. And remember, you can look at the sign before to kind of help fill in the pieces. Pandy, you go for it.
So it's going to be a cardinal, feminine, water sign.
Yes!
Ah!
Okay, who wants to take a stab at Leo? Okay.
Okay, so Leo is going to be a fixed masculine fire sign.
You are correct. And Sarah, I saw your hand up a second ago. Would you like to take Virgo?
Yes, Virgo is feminine, mutable, earth.
You're doing great. Be astrologers by tomorrow, no time. Okay, somebody else who'd like to take Libra?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
So, feminine, cardinal, water. No, water, yeah.
It's masculine.
Okay, so
It's going to be feminine.
It's masculine.
No, it is. Okay.
yeah, and this is a little confusing. When I put the F and the M here, that's fixed mutable.
I know. Yeah.
So if
That's
the
more-
prior sign is minus, then the next sign is
Positive.
Yeah.
right. So you got the cardinality correct. And you see how I'm like trying to, so anything on the cross is cardinal. The middle one's fixed. The transitional mutable. Okay. Okay. Who'd like to take Scorpio? Oh, Marla, of course.
Okay, so feminine, fixed, and water.
Yes, there you
Did
go.
get that right? Yeah.
Okay. Who'd like to take Sag? Okay, Sarah?
Masculine, fire, and mutable.
Correct. And I see Christina raising her hand on the Zoom thingy. So Christina, would you like to take Capricorn? Maybe she's chatting, I can't see.
I forgot to take my mic off
Oh,
or my
okay.
mute off. Okay, so Capricorn is feminine,
Mm-hmm.
feminine, cardinal, and earth.
There you go. Awesome. Okay. Aquarius. The age of Aquarius.
Love it.
Okay. Candy?
All right. So it'll be masculine, fixed, and air.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And last but not least, who wants to try Pisces?
I'll do it.
Okay, Sarah?
Pisces, feminine, mutable, water.
There you go. Awesome. Yay! You did great. Now, if you found yourself struggling with this, by the way, it took me a couple classes just to memorize, cardinal, fixed, mutable. And so keep just memorizing these, do your, just do one at a time. Okay. So we're going to just do gender. So Aries is masculine. So then Taurus is feminine. So then, just picture the sign, say the thing, and go through the dial, right? Just keep spinning this wheel. And when we get into interpretation, so now when we start talking about the signs, this like Aries must have keywords that are cardinal, fire, and masculine about them. Okay, so pioneering, adventurous, running off half-cocked. Those are all Aries words, right? And you see how they fit with cardinality, the fire aspect, and the masculine aspect. Okay, very deep, fundamental. How these are the elemental. These are the molecules of the sign. If these were atoms, right? And you can't lose this when you're doing interpretation. Really, it all goes back to the basics. Okay. So, and then the polarities, we talked about this. Masculine signs, cardinal, and then it's air and fire and air. Then you see with these fixed feminine signs, it's water and earth. Fire and air, water and earth. Fire and air, water and earth. So there they all are.
I just noticed, Joseph, that the polarity, you're in the same, it's a feminine to feminine instead of the opposite.
Yes.
That kind of freaks me out a little bit.
And it's like another way to look at the polarity is it's like two sides of the same coin, because I see this a lot with, it's easy for me to see with Scorpio and Taurus, I guess because I've had a lot of those signs in my life. They're just like the flip side of one another, but they have a lot of similar things that they care about.
Okay.
Both are very sensual, both like deep connection, both really value security and steady energy. Another way to look at it is so you got Gemini and Sagittarius, it's just a really big dramatic Gemini. Another way to look at it, right? And so Leo, where it's the fire of the heart, like the self-love and I love me and do you love me and da-da-da-da. Aquarius is in the air, Aquarius is I want to connect to all humanity. So they do have this similar, but not too close and don't touch me for the Aquarius part.
I think
the Libra are like me and we, so they're
that's
really
another. Yep.
You know how I think of Aquarius and Leo? I think of Aquarius and Leo a little bit like Leo would be King Arthur, right? The leader, the king, and Aquarius is Merlin.
Ah, good.
I like that.
So it's kind of like, you know what I mean? Because society, humanity needs a leader, but a leader also needs to keep in mind the needs of society and humanity, right?
That's really good.
Oh, Merlin's a spiritual leader.
Yes.
I like that. Very nice.
One last thing, two last things we can do. We can throw some of your charts up. I'll teach you the tarot overlay, and then if you want to stay on, I can talk to you about the dates of this life-changing situation that we're in.
what I wanted to ask was, when we place those card placements there, what we're really using to figure out what cards go into that particular area of the chart would be the planetary designations. So like we would pick death for the Scorpio presence in that part, and then like the judgment card would represent like Pluto's energy, the magician
Yes.
would be Mercury, and the empress would be Venus, right? That's there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just saying this like I can appreciate some of you on the call might not know the tarot correspondences like off the top of your head. So I can like put out a worksheet. I'm sure there's a website that has this. And what we're doing, just so you know, like that's not like pure astrology, but I want you to astrologers study their chart their whole life. Up until the moment of death, you can still be looking at your chart, right? So if you know tarot well, it's like you're borrowing from one system that you might be more familiar with to help to give you new insight about another system that you're not quite familiar with yet, right? Or if you know both systems, it's to give you a new lens in which to examine your astrology chart with, okay?
I totally agree with what you just said. I mean, the tarot and astrology, I think they work hand in hand, but they are just such, they're very different as well, you know, two different disciplines and sciences.
Yes. Yeah, this is a little, this is a little mavericky that we're throwing these two together and seeing what happens. So, and yes, when you're doing pure astrology and pure tarot, I feel like you need to respect the boundaries and the conversations and also the language that they use, and don't overlap it. This is just sort of like advanced. If you want to put that in there and see what you get. And if, listen, you do it and you're like more confused, put it away, come back to it 5 years from now, you might have a new insight, right?
Agreed.
Okay. All right. So, and by the way, I'm into the Brene Brown philosophy of vulnerability, that it's actually a strength, and it takes very big people to look where, guys, listen, once you know enough about astrology, this is a X-ray of someone's soul on the screen. Wow. So, and then deeper in this course, we're going to get into like ethics conversations. And especially if you see some stuff on the chart that's like very, usually conversations that only happen in a therapist's office, we have a code of ethics that's just as strong about confidentiality. And, you know, if you see stuff on the chart, be like, ooh, this client is really delicate. I can't lay this on. So, and I always err on the sign of gentle. And then when they go, Joseph, come on, just tell me it, you know, and then I know like I've gotten their consent, you see, and then I can be okay with, no, I didn't push this on them, they asked, right? So these are ethical guidelines that we'll do down the road, because if you are going to do like mini interpretations for your friends and family, you can get dangerous really quickly. And so, so just later on conversations. So, okay, so time flies when you're having fun, because it's 10
Holy
o'clock.
crap, it's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we're beating up Joseph big time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph.
No, listen, it was my pleasure. I love this stuff. And so here's a couple of, we do need to do a couple of wrap up things. What I'll do is I'll email you the dates of this Pluto Capricorn hell that we're in, and I'll maybe send you some of those slides, and I'll send you the key slides from this conversation so you have them. Also I have my social media channels, which is Stars by Joseph on Instagram and Stars by Joseph on Facebook.
I was on a straight line, never veering from my path. My own light in the dark void, nothing to distract. A heart of ice on fire and of a single high, jealous of my freedom as I blazed across the sky. your golden brilliance and the warmth that radiates, your gravity more tempting than any eye would ever taste. Now I'm caught up in your orbit and I'm bending to your form, and I find myself revolving in a circle of your warmth. Hail the sun, that is you in my life. Even as you melt this ice away, I become less of me, more of you with each passing day. Hail the sun, I was all a straight line, now you're the center of it all. And I find myself returning, ever turning as I fall. Knowing in the falling I'm letting go my fear, and our embrace may last a million years. Hail the sun, that is you in my life. Even as you melt this ice away, I become less of me, more of you with each passing day. Hail the sun, I was all a straight line, never veering from my path. My own light in the dark void, nothing to distract. Now I'm dancing in your orbit and I swear I'll never leave. Someday I'll crash into you and I will cease to be. Hail the sun, that is you in my life. Even as you melt this ice away, I become less of me, more of you with each passing day. Hail the sun, hail the sun.
Hi everyone, this is Shaylee from Beachfire Coven here in Miami, Florida. Like all of you, we've had to learn how to do some social distancing and how to do all our rituals virtually. At our last ritual, I wrote a circle casting and release that I would like to share with all of you. I know that this hasn't been an easy time, and I thought maybe if we all shared how we were coping and how we were connecting, that it would be another way to connect. So here's the casting. With healing hands and hearts, we cast the circle round, weaving threads of magic, unseen and abound, protected in the space we work our sacred rites, connecting in this place, in between our separate sites. Love and light unite us as we join as one. The circle is cast, the ritual has now begun. I really wanted to add something that says about our separate locations, so that's how I came up with that casting. To release the circle, I wrote, "With open hearts and hands, we release the circle, interwoven spaces untwining for now. Our places once again separate, no longer one. Love and friendship keep us together, through distance near and far. The circle is open, but never unbroken. May the peace of the goddess be ever in our hearts. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again." Hope you enjoyed and that it brings you some inspiration. Happy social distancing. Blessed be.
Before the dawn on the longest day, we stand upon the hill and wait. We bid farewell to the shortest night, and drum and sing in the growing light. Sunrise, sun arise, sunrise, sun arise, sunrise, sun arise, sunrise, sun arise. The gray horizon slowly blooms with rose and gold till the sun's disk shows. Amaterasu in Tirawala, we greet you on your day of power. Sunrise, sun arise, sunrise, sun arise, sunrise, sun arise, sunrise, sun arise. Gather together to celebrate summer, connect to the source of the most ancient ways of ancestor dancers and chanters and drummers within us, beside us on this longest day. Gather together to celebrate summer, connect to the source of the most ancient ways of ancestor dancers and chanters and drummers within us, beside us on this longest day. Gather together to celebrate summer, connect to the source of the most ancient ways of ancestor dancers and chanters and drummers within us, beside us on this longest day. Gather together to celebrate summer, connect to the source of the most ancient ways of ancestor dancers and chanters and drummers within us, beside us on